happened just 24 hours earlier, miles over the Pacific, I doubt she'd have survived. Tao had to endure more hospitalization and surgery, but once again, she defied the odds and cheated death. Months after, we finally caught a break. The chemo she'd been getting since returning from Vietnam worked so well that Tao was in remission again for the first time in years. During this time, Tao was transferred to the program I'd worked on for a decade, JSAL. I was the software tech lead, and the two of us saw lots of opportunities to reduce rework and improve process. Once I was invited to a meeting she and a coworker had called to propose a process improvement, and I defended their very sensible idea, prompting one of the lead engineers at the meeting to groan, "Oh, here we go, Andel's in stereo." We made a great team. I was very thankful for the opportunity to enjoy what so many of you here tonight have, getting to work with Tao. When she first came on JSAL, people who couldn't remember her name or were afraid to mispronounce it referred to her as Bill's wife. She hated that, rightfully wanting recognition for her own accomplishments. Sometime after that, I attended a Scrum Master workshop offsite, and practically everybody at the table I sat at was from SM3, her old program. So for that day, I was Tao's husband. I reveled in that nickname. I was proud to be her husband and fortunate that we shared half a lifetime together. At the end of that year, the Buddhist temple she was attending in Midtown closed down when its owner moved to California to help his ailing parents. Tao didn't want to lose this important part of her life and discovered a mid-century house for sale a few blocks up the street that had a recently built two-car garage added onto it. We moved into that house from the one we'd lived in on the east side for over a decade and converted the garage to a Buddhist temple. So when I tell people I have a Buddhist temple in my garage, I'm not kidding. Between that and her remission, it seemed like life was finally going our way. And then the worst happened again. Last summer, Tao started feeling poorly. The doctors reported that her tumor markers had jumped and her kidneys were swelling. We took a long weekend last fall in San Diego to celebrate our 21st wedding anniversary, and when she got back, Tao had a chemotherapy port installed again, and then 4 more surgeries over 2 weeks to get kidney stents in. And after that, her color and her energy improved quickly. So of course, it was time to start chemo and feel lousy again. Tao spiked a really bad fever after that first chemo and was admitted to the hospital with a stubborn infection. She was there for 3 weeks, receiving massive doses of antibiotics. They finally identified the brand new chemo port as the source of the infection and removed it before discharging her. This was just 3 days before our traveling Buddhist master that we follow, himself a Vietnamese immigrant, came to visit us for a few weeks. Tao was tired of going through the torturous medical treatments only to have everything the doctors tried eventually fail and the cancer come back again and again. She was convinced if she went into retreat at our master's monastery in Vietnam, that she could better overcome her cancer through prayer, meditation, and diet. So in mid-December, she accompanied him first to the Bay Area, where she got to visit her sister, then to Japan for a bit, and finally to Vietnam on the 4th of January. One of the first things she did after she got there was to accompany our master to a temple near a river in the Mekong Delta. After prayers, she went with many of the congregation down to the river and out onto a barge to release into the water fish that were otherwise destined for cookpots. Now, this ritual is supposed to cancel out negative karma or life debt that a person has incurred, either from one's current life or past lives. Tao was increasingly convinced that her illness stemmed from bad karma from past lives, and I suppose it's as good as an explanation as any as to why such a wonderful person could be beset by such a devastating and persistent illness. Tao took great comfort and joy from the ritual. So when she returned to our master's monastery, she rode a motorcycle taxi to the fish market every morning, bought a bucket of fish, and rode down to the river to release them. During our frequent video chats, she would tell me with pure bliss on her face how happily the fish she freed jumped out of the water before swimming away. She also told me how much her health improved. She was happier than I'd seen her in years, as you can see from one of the last photos of her. It was on the morning of Saturday, March 4th, Vietnam time, as she was returning from the fish market, that she got involved in a motorcycle accident, resulting in a severe brain injury. It was the middle of Friday night here when our master called me and told me she was not expected to make it. I was by her side at the hospital she was taken to in Saigon within 48 hours. Her cancer had indeed gotten visibly much better, but Tao would never recover from her injury. She was already brain dead and on a respirator when I reached the hospital. She passed a few days later, and I never got to speak with her again. Having had numerous occasions to discuss it as her health declined, I knew she wanted to be cremated and her ashes taken to California to be scattered into the Pacific in the hopes that they might eventually find their way to the land of her birth. Since that's where she actually passed, we held a funeral and cremated her there. You saw some of the photographs earlier. We took her ashes to the same temple in the same river where she had released fish on her arrival in Vietnam. We prayed, released fish, and I bid my dear Tao a final goodbye as I poured her ashes into the river. If I can take any consolation from this horrible tragedy, it's that the cancer and its many complications didn't get her, and that the way she died was probably quicker and more merciful than the lingering, painful death her illness had in store for her. Before she left, she told me that her fondest desire was to pay off her bad karma and move on to her next life in a fresh new body, free of disease. I guess Buddha finally gave her that chance. And while Tao may have been ready for that, the rest of us most certainly were not. A couple of nights after I returned home from Vietnam, I had a dream. Tao was coming around the corner of our garage in her Buddhist robe, smiling. I said to her, "Where are you going, sweetheart?" And she replied, "To look at the flowers." I asked, "Can I come along?" And she smiled warmly at me and said, "Of course." This gave me hope that I might eventually be reunited with her in the hereafter. There's a cliche of referring to one's spouse as your better half, but it was never more true in Tao's case. She helped me to grow into a better person. She faced the adversity in her life with smiles and laughter. Despite her own troubles, she gave generously of herself to others in need. She touched many lives for the better, especially my own. And I know all of you who knew her will miss her as much as I do. And now, in the words of radio legend Paul Harvey, you know the rest of the story. It would be my honor and privilege to have any of you that would like to come up and share your memories of my beloved Tao and to help her celebrate her life. I'd like to first call on her friend Erica Cracknell, who's going to read Tao's favorite piece of English language poetry, Robert Frost's The Road Not Taken. Any of you who knew Tao knew what a perfect metaphor it is for the life she lived.
Two roads diverged in the yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.
Well, I really appreciate it.
I wanted to be sure I captured everything I wanted to say, so I put it down.
Well, you know, I cheated too.
When I think about Tao Andel, I immediately get this formulaic acronym-like vision of what I call T cubed Q. Tenacity, tirelessness, toughness, and quality. Upon closer reflection, though, I remember this really friendly, outgoing, warm, welcoming person that just loved living and loved the people she encountered in this thing we call life. I first met Tao outside of building MO5. We were onboarding right around the same time. She was coming out of a security briefing or maybe getting her badge, but none of that became the subject of a possibly 15-minute long conversation about how our careers finally crossed paths. By the way, Myers-Briggs characterized me as an introvert, so you can imagine who did most of the talking. She didn't know me from Adam, but she was so easy to talk to. It was a good thing I was early for my meeting. I would certainly have been late. It turned out we had both been in upstate New York around the same time. She had been working in Binghamton while I was in Syracuse back in the late 80s, early 90s. We were working in the same industry for most of our careers, and now we would be working for the same boss here at Raytheon. In that moment, we were like old friends getting